There's a moment when a woman looks at you from across the room and you feel that hollow in your stomach. Her eyes meet yours for 1 second too long. That fraction of time seems to freeze everything around you. You feel the immediate impulse to move closer, to start a conversation, to prove your worth, to impress. Your whole body pushes you toward her as if she were an invisible magnet. Most men surrender to that impulse instantly. They approach with slightly uncertain steps, mentally rehearsing their opening lines, adjusting their posture to look taller, more confident, more important. They desperately search for approval in every interaction, every word calibrated to earn validation. And right there, in that act of pursuit, they lose all their power without even realizing it. In the next few minutes, I will show you the most powerful method that Machiavelli concealed within his private writings, a method you will never find in The Prince, because it was too effective to be revealed publicly. You will understand the psychological error that makes you invisible to the women you truly desire. You will see the exact technique applied in 3 real situations that will transform your social reality. You will discover the complete system that generates an attraction so deep she will not be able to stop thinking about you. What no one has ever told you is simple. He who chases becomes subordinate. He who attracts becomes dominant. If that already made you question everything you thought you knew about attraction, leave a like right now and come with me. Think of gravity as the perfect metaphor. Most people believe that to attract someone, you must move toward them, orbit around them, perform visible acts of approach. But the true gravitational centers of the universe move toward nothing. Everything else moves inevitably toward them, pulled by an invisible force no one can resist. And it is exactly that invisible gravitational force that we are going to build inside you today, step by step. Let me show you precisely where the fundamental problem lies, the one no one has ever pointed out before. The mistake made by 97% of men is so deep that it has become completely invisible. Every time you try to impress someone, every time you adjust your behavior to please, every time you chase external validation, you're sending a devastating subliminal message. You are worth more than me. That message isn't spoken in words. It's purely energetic, entirely subconscious, completely instinctive. It's encoded in your body language the moment you approach her first. It's reflected in the slightly faster rhythm of your speech as you try to keep her attention. It appears in the way your eyes constantly search for her approval after every comment. Tiny behaviors invisible to you, but to her, they flash like neon signs, gigantic ones. The ordinary man works endlessly, plans elaborate strategies, memorizes opening lines, studies female psychology, buys clothes to impress, and shapes his personality like a social chameleon. The result? Women who tolerate him briefly, but never desire him deeply. The strategic man, on the other hand, understands that true attraction is never the result of visible effort, but the reflection of genuine abundance. The result? Women who chase him with an intensity that even his closest friends can't understand. The consequences of this mistake are devastating and cumulative. In the short term, conversations that slowly die, phone numbers that never reply, dates that lead nowhere. In the medium term, relationships where you always give more, where you always compensate, where you are always on the edge of losing her. In the long term, an identity built around emotional scarcity, a life of unfulfilled desire, a quiet resignation to being good enough, but never truly desired. Why does this happen? The answer is coded into our most primitive DNA, those neural circuits that evolved long before rational thought. The female brain is designed to detect genuine value, not performed value. When you chase, you activate the low-value circuit. When you try too hard, you are confessing scarcity. This is not a conscious choice on her part. It's an automatic response, programmed by millions of years of evolution to identify carriers of superior genes. It's like trying to convince someone that a fake diamond is real. You can craft the most convincing story, create the perfect setting, use the most persuasive words, but the moment an expert looks closely, the entire illusion collapses instantly. You cannot argue against the subconscious perception of value. The ordinary man believes he must prove his value through visible acts of pursuit, constant messages, immediate availability, permanent attention. The strategic man understands that real value is communicated precisely by the absence of any need to prove it. Full presence when present, complete absence when absent. You may recognize these patterns in your own life. You remember perfectly that conversation that began so well, with her laughing at your comments, showing all the signs of interest, only to cool down inexplicably when you began showing your interest more openly. Or that relationship where, at the start, she pursued you constantly, sent messages, sought your attention, until she finally had you, and gradually all her interest evaporated like water in the desert. That woman who awakens something inexplicable in you, who is always on your mind, to whom you always reply immediately while she answers hours later. And still, you can't help waiting for her next breadcrumb of attention. It's like a tiger chasing a mechanical lure in circles, running to exhaustion, not understanding it's programmed to never be caught. Every time you chase, every time you try visibly, every time you show more interest than you receive, you are running in that same invisible circle. The ordinary man adjusts his life to create opportunities for interaction, changes routes, frequents places, modifies habits. The strategic man lives centered on his mission and purpose, and interactions arise organically within his authentic, unfabricated reality. The truth that few men discover is this: real attraction is not built. It is released by eliminating low-energy behaviors. But the truly devastating cost goes beyond specific relationships. With every interaction in which you chase validation, you are reinforcing a self-image of scarcity. You are becoming, neurologically, a man whose central identity is built around the constant need for external approval. It is not only she who perceives this energy, it is your entire social, professional, and personal environment. And the most destructive thing is how you perceive yourself, subconsciously. While the ordinary man lives in a perpetual state of emotional hunger, always seeking the next validation, the next approval, the next confirmation of his value, the strategic man lives in a state of internal abundance where external reactions are secondary to his inherent worth. But identifying the problem is only the beginning. Now I am going to reveal to you the exact technique, step by step, that you must apply to completely invert this dynamic and become the gravitational center that attracts effortlessly. The central technique is called magnetic void, and it works directly on the primitive neural circuits that govern human attraction. It is not manipulation, it is strategic positioning. First, you consciously identify every pursuit behavior in your current repertoire and suspend it completely. This creates an energetic void that becomes magnetic precisely because it is authentic, not performative. Then you redirect that liberated energy toward your central purpose and personal mission, creating a legitimate gravitational core. Meanwhile, you maintain a fully conscious presence in every interaction, without filtering it through the need for specific outcomes. Finally, you allow attraction to manifest naturally, without forcing it. You recognize that gravity does not need effort to function. Most men apply superficial techniques powered by scarcity. You apply strategic presence powered by abundance. The difference is not subtle, it's absolute. Imagine this situation at work. You're in an important meeting and the woman who attracts you is present. The room is perfectly lit, presentations projected on the screen, the aroma of fresh coffee drifting in the air. You notice that she occasionally looks at you. The ordinary man immediately adjusts his behavior. He speaks a little louder, makes comments to impress, constantly watches for her reaction after every intervention. He positions himself strategically near her during the break, creates excuses to start a conversation. He appears professional on the surface, but the underlying energy is transparent, the need for validation. The result is immediate, though invisible. She subconsciously perceives the pursuit, and her interest decreases proportionally. You, on the other hand, remain completely focused on the content of the meeting. Your posture is relaxed but powerful. Your comments are precise and valuable, not to impress her but to contribute to the team. You don't seek her gaze, you don't alter your route to pass nearby. You don't fabricate reasons to interact. During the break, you genuinely converse with whoever is relevant to the meeting's objectives, or you simply enjoy your coffee in silence if that's what feels natural to you. Then it happens. She begins to find reasons to approach. She asks questions she could ask anyone else. She positions herself strategically within your line of sight. The void you have created has generated genuine curiosity, authentic interest. You did not chase, and precisely because of that, you attracted. Because the one who seeks approval repels it. The one who exists fully within his own reality magnetizes it. Now let's take the same principle into a personal setting. You're at a party, music playing at a volume that allows conversation without shouting. Dim lights creating atmosphere. Different social groups scattered around the space. You see a woman who instantly attracts you. The ordinary man immediately begins crafting strategies of approach, calculating angles, rehearsing openers in his mind, perhaps taking a drink to calm his nerves, consulting friends about what to do. Finally, he approaches with energy that feels slightly tense, initially disguised as confidence. The conversation flows, but he's constantly evaluating her reaction, adjusting according to her responses, working to maintain her interest. Even if he gets her number, the following messages receive replies that grow further apart until they disappear completely. You, applying the magnetic void, enter fully present in your experience. You genuinely enjoy the conversations you have with anyone. You don't monitor her location constantly, nor calculate moments of approach. You are completely immersed in your authentic social reality. If the circumstances create a natural interaction, you maintain that same complete presence. Total attention when she speaks, steady eye contact, but never invasive, genuine responses with no hidden agenda. The result is disorienting to anyone observing. She begins to gravitate toward your space. She finds reasons to start a conversation. Her signs of interest become increasingly evident. You are not chasing attraction. You are allowing it to occur naturally. True mastery lies not in what you do, but in what you stop doing. In the digital context, where most modern interactions begin, this principle amplifies exponentially. Imagine you've got her number or her Instagram account. The digital temptation is immense. The ordinary man immediately succumbs to constant availability. He checks repeatedly to see if she has viewed his messages, replies instantly no matter what he's doing, crafts texts carefully to maintain her interest, overreacts to every photo she posts. Each notification from her triggers a dopamine hit, reinforcing the pursuit pattern. What begins as fluid conversation slowly turns one-sided until it fades away completely. You, applying this principle digitally, maintain the same standard of presence and absence. When you engage, you are completely present. Considered responses, genuine conversation, real interest, but you are not permanently available. You have a life built around your purpose and mission that exists independently of her attention. You do not monitor her social media activity, you do not react compulsively to every post, you do not shape your digital rhythm around her virtual existence. The pattern that emerges defies all conventional intuition. She begins to initiate conversations more often. Her responses become longer, more thoughtful. Her emotional investment visibly increases. The space you've created becomes a void that she seeks to fill willingly. Those who are always available communicate a lack of value. Those who live fully radiate irresistible abundance. But pay close attention. There are 3 critical errors that can completely sabotage this technique. The first error is mistaking the magnetic void for artificial indifference or calculated coldness. This happens when you try to project disinterest instead of cultivating genuine interest in your own life. The result is an incongruent energy that she perceives as strategic falseness. The correction is crucial. It's not about pretending not to care, but about redirecting your care toward your personal purpose. The second error is applying the technique with resentment or from unhealed emotional wounds. Many men use these strategies as reactions to past rejections, executing them with vengeful energy. That energy creates a toxic frequency. It repels instead of attracts. The solution: purify your motivations before applying the technique. It must come from abundance, not scarcity. The third error, the most subtle and dangerous, is using early success as external validation. When you start seeing results, the temptation appears to derive your sense of worth from these new positive reactions, simply changing the source of your validation. That mistake sends you right back to where you started. The correction requires constant vigilance. The results are the consequence of your centeredness, not its cause. This works perfectly on the surface, but there's a deeper truth, one that separates those who merely apply techniques from those who transform their relational reality completely. The fundamental insight that few ever grasp is this: true attraction is not something you provoke, but something you release by removing all the behaviors that block it. Naturally, this understanding contradicts everything you've been taught. Our entire cultural narrative is built on the idea that you must do more, try harder, prove more, chase more. The entire dating and relationship industry is constructed on the premise of additive techniques: what to say, how to dress, which places to visit, how to impress. That entire paradigm is fundamentally wrong. At an intermediate level, you may notice that additive techniques sometimes work, but only temporarily. A man can learn enough strategies to get phone numbers, even first dates, perhaps even short relationships, but inevitably, the underlying energy of pursuit emerges and destroys the initial attraction he managed to create artificially. The deeper truth is radically different. Magnetic attraction is your natural state once you eliminate all the low-energy behaviors that most men constantly display. It is not something you build through effort. It is something that emerges naturally when you remove the blocks that suppress it. And this changes everything, because it transforms attraction from something you do into something you are. The most powerful evidence of this principle is found in universal male experience. Think about that moment in your life when you were completely absorbed in a personal project, fully committed to your purpose, absolutely present in your mission. Paradoxically, it was precisely then that you experienced the highest level of feminine attraction without even trying to seek it. You see it constantly around you. That friend who, after a painful breakup, dives entirely into his passion for music, or business, or sport, not actively searching for new relationships, and yet suddenly finds himself surrounded by female interest like never before. That colleague who is so obsessed with his professional project that he barely has time to socialize, and yet the women in the office constantly invent reasons to interact with him. The pattern is undeniable. When you stop chasing attraction and immerse yourself completely in your life's purpose, attraction begins to chase you. Why? Because you are operating from an energetic frequency that communicates genuine abundance, not scarcity disguised as strategy. Think about that time when you were so focused on something important to you that you didn't even notice the looks of interest around you. What did you feel? Complete immersion, total presence, no concern for external reactions. And the result? Precisely when you were not seeking validation, it arrived abundantly. This is no coincidence. It is the manifestation of the fundamental principle. Genuine attraction is never chased, it is allowed. When you internalize this truth, you experience a radical transformation in how you perceive interactions. Before, you saw every conversation as an opportunity to impress, every message as a chance to maintain interest, every encounter as a stage to prove value. Now you recognize every interaction as simply an exchange of authentic energies, with no underlying agenda, no need for specific outcomes. The signs that you have truly integrated this understanding are unmistakable. You begin to experience a relational freedom that once seemed impossible. You no longer feel anxiety when she does not reply immediately. You no longer rearrange your schedule to create opportunities for interaction. Conversations flow naturally, without conscious effort to keep them alive. Situations that once made you insecure are now simply neutral contexts for expressing your authenticity. And the most transformative part, you begin to attract a level of feminine intensity that once seemed reserved only for other men. The master of this principle operates from an entirely different paradigm. While the technical practitioner applies the magnetic void as a conscious strategy, the master has integrated it so deeply into his identity that it no longer requires effort. He is not applying a technique. He is expressing his authentic nature. The difference is the same as that between an actor convincingly playing a role and someone who simply is the magnetism itself. It is not what you do, it is what you are when you stop trying to be magnetic. Now that you understand the depth of this principle, we are going to transform this understanding into a practical, complete system that you can implement immediately to become an irresistible gravitational center. The first tool is called total presence, and it represents the foundation of the entire system. It is, essentially, the ability to be completely immersed in the present moment without filtering the experience through possible future outcomes. You use it specifically when interacting directly with her, when sharing social spaces, or when communicating digitally. Here's how it works in detail. First, anchor your full attention in the present moment by consciously noticing the physical sensations in your body, escaping the constant mental dialogue. Then, maintain steady but relaxed eye contact without breaking it too soon and without holding it artificially. Finally, Listen with complete attention, responding to what she actually says, not to what you rehearsed saying. For example, when she asks, "What are you looking for right now?" you respond directly from your authentic truth, without calculating what answer might increase your chances. "I'm building a business I'm passionate about and open to genuine connections that add something meaningful to my life." The effect is immediate. She perceives authenticity as real value, not performance. And minutes later, her body language begins to show clear signs of emotional openness. The second tool is purpose centrality, and it represents the energetic core of your natural attraction. This tool reorients your center of gravity from external validation to your personal mission. You use it constantly, not only during romantic interactions, but as the foundation of your entire life structure. It works by first identifying your authentic central purpose, not one fabricated to impress. Then you consciously align your daily decisions with that purpose, creating total congruence between what you claim to value and how you actually live. Finally, you learn to derive your primary satisfaction from progress in your mission, not from external reactions. When she asks, "Why didn't you text me yesterday?" you respond naturally from this center, "I was completely immersed finishing the project I told you about. I lost track of time." It is not an excuse, it is not a strategy, it is simply the truth of a man centered in his purpose. The result is paradoxical, yet consistent. She feels a stronger attraction precisely because your world does not revolve around her attention. The third tool is strategic void, and it represents the catalytic element that accelerates the entire process. This tool deliberately creates spaces of absence that activate the feminine instinct to pursue. You use it specifically when you feel the impulse to chase, when the interaction becomes predictable, or when you need to recalibrate the energetic dynamic. It works by first consciously recognizing every pursuit impulse before acting. Then, instead of following that impulse, you redirect that energy toward your central purpose and mission. Finally, you allow that empty space to exist, without filling it prematurely, trusting the natural process of attraction. When you would normally send 3 consecutive messages because she has not replied, you apply the strategic void by redirecting yourself completely toward your current project, allowing digital silence to exist without the anxious urge to fill it. The result defies conventional intuition. When she finally responds, her emotional investment has increased significantly. Nature abhors a vacuum. So does feminine attraction. Now, I will give you a surgical plan for the next 7 days that will transform these principles into your new reality. This is not abstract theory. It is an immediate implementation protocol. During the first 2 days, your only focus is to apply total presence in every meaningful interaction. Do not try to apply the entire system simultaneously. Just this. Each time you interact with a woman you find attractive, and this will happen at least 3 times during these 2 days, whether in person or digitally, you consciously apply the 3 components of total presence. Physical anchoring in the present moment. Authentic eye contact. Complete listening, without filtering through desired outcomes. Here's what you will notice. Initial discomfort with silence on the first day. A greater capacity to remain present without filling conversational gaps on the second. You will feel strangely vulnerable at first, as if emotionally exposed, but after 4 or 5 applications, you will experience an unexplainable conversational freedom. Women will respond with visibly greater emotional openness. Pay close attention especially to how their body language changes. It is the most reliable indicator of effectiveness. On days 3 and 4, you add purpose centrality while maintaining the first tool. Now you are operating with 2 active elements of the system. When you feel the impulse to rearrange your schedule to create opportunities for interaction, you not only apply total presence in existing interactions, but also maintain the integrity of your purpose, refusing to modify your life structure for external validation. The combination creates a congruence that becomes subconsciously magnetic. Here, the game visibly changes, because you are communicating an entirely different message at the energetic level. You will notice an initial sense of loss of control within yourself, a shift in how the women who interest you react to your presence, and most importantly, a reconfiguration in the dynamic of pursuit. If you feel a specific discomfort when keeping your personal commitments instead of creating artificial availability, that is precisely the sign that it's working. Adjust the intensity of implementation if the internal resistance feels too strong. Days 5, 6, and 7 are for refinement and integration of the third tool, the strategic void, thus completing the system. Now you operate with all the tools fully integrated. A woman doesn't reply to your message for hours. You apply the strategic void by immersing yourself in your purpose. Someone attracts your attention at a social event. You maintain total presence without agenda. While honoring your centrality of purpose, you feel the impulse to pursue someone with whom the conversation flows. You choose strategically between your tools based on the specific context. Observe carefully how your emotional baseline begins to shift, how the initiation dynamics transform, how the energetic quality of your interactions evolves. Adjust the implementation of each tool based on the reactions you observe. If a woman who normally responds slowly begins initiating conversations, it means the strategic void is working correctly, and you must maintain it. At this stage, you will experience a tangible transformation in your relational dynamics. It is not imagination nor subjective interpretation, it is a measurable change in who initiates contact, who invests more emotionally, who pursues whose attention. But now, maximum attention, because there are 3 critical errors that can completely sabotage everything you've built in this week of implementation. Error number 1. Falling into premature complacency when you begin to see results. It seems harmless, but in reality, it is devastating. It happens especially when a woman you deeply desire starts showing clear signs of attraction. The unmistakable indicator that you are falling into this error is that you gradually begin returning to pursuit patterns, justifying them as exceptions. Immediate consequence: loss of magnetic momentum. Midterm consequence: a complete regression to the original dynamic. The specific correction is discipline, to maintain the structure of the system, especially when results are positive. Second critical error: confusing temporary strategic absence with relational power. It occurs when you experience the power of the strategic void and begin to derive emotional satisfaction from perceived control. This creates a toxic energy, imperceptible to you but completely transparent to her. The solution requires brutal honesty with yourself. The objective is never control. It is the liberation from low energy patterns to allow for authentic connection. Third, and most insidious: using these tools as external techniques instead of integrating them as an expression of identity. The warning sign is clear. You implement the system mechanically, as something you do instead of something you are. The consequence is energetic incongruence that cancels all benefits. The fundamental correction is to transform each tool from a conscious technique into a natural expression of your new relational identity. And before we finish, there is something crucial you must understand about this entire system. True transformation does not occur in how women perceive you, but in how you perceive yourself. Let us recap, not as theoretical summary, but as the 4 pillars that now define your new relational reality. First pillar: every time you chase external validation, you subconsciously communicate a devastating message of personal scarcity that destroys attraction at its deepest root. Second pillar: the technique of magnetic void completely reverses this dynamic by eliminating all pursuit behaviors and redirecting your energy toward your authentic central purpose. Third pillar: true attraction is not something you build through tactics or strategies. It is a natural state that emerges when you remove all low-energy behaviors that constantly block it. Fourth pillar: the complete system of the 3 tools, total presence, purpose centrality, and strategic void, creates a relational architecture where feminine attraction becomes an inevitable consequence, not a goal to be chased. These 4 pillars are not abstract theory. They are the practical architecture of your authentic personal power. And now, you possess the complete map. He who chases will always be chased by scarcity. He who attracts will always be pursued by abundance. Now comes your challenge, and it begins right now, within the next 24 hours. Not tomorrow, not next week. Within the next 24 hours, a situation will arise in which you will feel the primitive impulse to pursue feminine validation. It might be a message notification that takes too long to answer, a casual encounter with someone who attracts you, or a digital opportunity to initiate contact with someone new. When that moment comes, and you will know exactly when, because you'll feel that unmistakable urge to act immediately just to get a response, I want you to apply the strategic void in its purest form. Not a diluted or partial version, the complete version I have shown you. You don't need to announce that you're testing something new. You don't need to explain it to anyone. That is precisely the beauty of this system. Simply recognize the impulse to pursue. Redirect that energy toward your central purpose, and allow the empty space to exist without trying to fill it prematurely. Because when you do this, 3 specific things will happen. You will feel an immediate sense of reclaimed personal power. You will experience an emotional freedom you have never known before. You will observe a reaction completely different from anything you've ever